and giving ourselves permission. So many women struggle with, from my experience, because if I start something, I need to commit to it full on. I can't fail. It has to be perfect. And then the perfectionism comes out. And then with what we just talked about, the people pleasing. I told my husband I'm gonna play it, and now I'm not playing it. Oh my God, I have to please this other person, and I have to be perfect at what I do. And it's not. And there is no shame in this, none whatsoever. And that's, I think, it's giving ourselves permission to not be afraid to try something new, and don't be ashamed if things just don't pin out, or you tried something and, like, you know, if I play, or by the end of the year, when I play my Pink Panther and I'm done with it, then I'm just done.
Yeah.
It's fine.
You may love it. You may want to join a jazz band. You never know, right? Welcome back, badass listeners. This is Midlife Strategies for Badass Women. My name is Sue Willoughby, and I am your host. And today, my guest is Heike Yates. I was on her podcast a couple of months ago, and I invited her to come and talk to you today, and I'm very excited to have her here. Heike Yates is a midlife fitness expert. She's also an author and the creator of the Spark Framework. She helps midlife women navigate seasons when what used to work no longer fits and routines feel harder to follow than they used to. And I can completely understand that, because I've had my share. With over 35 years of experience in fitness, nutrition, and mindset coaching, Heike supports women who feel stuck in the gap between knowing what matters and actually following through. Her approach is practical, compassionate, and designed for real life, not ideal days. And, not every day is an ideal day. She is the host of Pursue Your Spark podcast and award-winning author of Pursue Your Spark, where she blends science and lived experience to help women rebuild self-trust and move forward with steady steps, without guilt, extremes, or starting over. So without further ado, I present my guest, Heike Yates, and we are going to pursue our sparks. Hey, badass listeners, welcome back. I'm so excited to see you. And as I said in my introduction, I have an amazing guest today. I was on her podcast a few months ago, so we're podcast pals. And I asked her to join us on the show today. And so I would like you to welcome Heike Yates to the program. Heike, how are you today?
Oh my God, I love to be a badass. I am a badass in my own world. I was like, oh my God, Sue's title is just all right down my alley.
I was actually thinking I should come up with like little enamel pins, and then send them to my guests after they're on the show or something, or a sticker or whatever. I think that'd be awesome.
It'd be fun. I know. No,
Once you're
I'm
on the
good.
show, you're an official badass. That's all I got to say about that.
See, there you go. Thank you. I wear the badge of honor.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, first of all, for having me on your show. And it was so fun to re-listen to the episode, because sometimes it's a while, right? When you record something and then the show comes out and I'm like, and you kind of forget. And I'm like, that was such a cool conversation. And I love revisiting conversations that I've had with people. And then it's just like a super bonus to have you on the show today. So I'll just shut up because I'm rambling at this point. And I want to dig into the work that you do, because it's going to resonate with my listeners for sure, because it resonates with me. And, I'm in that place where the stuff I used to do doesn't work as well. And it's also really hard to get over the inertia of not working out or not doing, whatever it is to feel better. So let's kind of dive in and tell me about the work that you do and how you got into it and a little bit more along those lines. So then I'll just kick it off that way.
I have been a fitness, nutrition, and mindset coach for 40 years now, and Pilates, and specifically over 23 years. And I fell into all of this by accident, literally, because I never thought of myself being actually teaching classes, or what I call hopping around in front of people and making them do stuff, right? I was like, if you don't do it on your own, you're on your own, peeps. I'm not going to do that. But at the moment, as I just turned 65 this year, I have really found the My niche is women in midlife, and people often say, "Well, Heike, midlife is 50." And I feel that midlife is 40 to 80, and here's why. Is I feel that in our younger years before 30, and 40 is not a hard line, but it's a gauge, because at 40, many women start being empty nesters, going through a career change, or something else happens like perimenopausal situations, and everything goes haywire for some women. And then I feel that as we get older, in my mind, every 10 years, or from my own experience, every 10 years there's a little tweak I need to do. And the tweak keeps going until 80. Whereas I feel when we turn 80, and that's again based on my experience with working with clients, and my oldest client right now is 100.
Oh
It's
my
a
God, you're
it's a
kidding.
he,
Ah,
and his wife, who is
love it.
95, drives him to my studio here in Maryland. So still have a brick and mortar studio aside from Pursue Your Spark, which is my online brand. But
Yeah,
there they are, right? Every Tuesday, 11 o'clock,
I
that they
love
show
that.
up. And they have very different needs. So I've learned that around 80 is when many people have more therapeutic needs, that they need more help with things. That doesn't mean that they're mentally taking a back seat. They may be still mentally very acute and aware and very active, but the whole body, we're slower. Things go slower. Things are breaking down. So I said, you know what? 80 is a good, because so many women and up till that point are really powerhouses, and still are past that. But when I look at it from a fitness point of view, I wanted to set a boundary around that. And so my role now is to instill confidence in women, to gain momentum in their life and in their health, to develop the self trust to actually take action and move out of the inertia, or what I like to call the gap or the midlife traps. That is where myself see as a role, not so much as a teacher of Pilates or a weightlifting coach, because many of us know deep down how to do a lot of that stuff. We maybe need a blueprint or some help or guidance, but I don't need to teach you how to do a bicep curl for the most part. Some people don't know, but that's totally okay. But when I look at in general, most of us have so much information we don't use, and we keep looking for the latest and greatest and bestest, also not a word, that that will help us get this inertia, get that momentum going, because all this like I have willpower is never working out, has never worked out. And just recently I read an article by 360 Fitness, the former owners of the Idea Fitness magazine and fitness conglomerate that still exists, but they sold their company. And they just wrote a long article about that the fitness industry is has to learn to back off with their intense workouts, and that as we get older, we need to be smarter, wiser, and more kinder to our bodies, and have more grace with how our body's responding, and that the fitness industry needs to learn in itself to say, no, don't keep beating people up. Give them what they really need.
I couldn't agree with you more because I am, what am I now, 66? Am I going to be 67?
I think we're
Anyway,
about the
so
same
I'm right
age.
in there. I'm right in there. And back in the day, even in my 50s, I think it was like I didn't I was they always wanted me to be an athlete in school because of my size, right? They wanted me to join crew team. They wanted me to do this, and I'm like, "No, I'm gonna go get high." So that was my I'm like, "Okay, forget about the sports thing." And then
I'm
when I
with you
was
on
in
that
my
one.
in my mid-30s, a friend of mine was doing this fundraising bike ride and said, "Hey, do you wanna do this?" And I'm like, "Sure, let's do that." It was the California AIDS ride from San Francisco to LA in 7 days. Hello, wake up. We got we got some shit to do here. So that kinda got me, and I got in amazing shape. And then, other things came along, and I started working out at a boxing gym. So I was working
Yeah.
out at a boxing gym, 6 days a week and loving it. I was one of those 6 a.m. people, right? But that was, when I was in my 50s, and that still pretty good. It kinda kicked ass, but, now I've had a couple of injuries. I fell off a
Uh,
horse, I broke my wrist, I got in a car accident, so And now my body was in a position where I'm like, "Okay, I need to get back to, building up some strength to protect myself so that I don't continue to get injured." And when you were talking about the fitness industry,
Mm.
I'm like, "What am I gonna do?" I'm not, 40, 50 anymore, gonna go to a boxing gym and get the crap knocked out of me. I'm not gonna do CrossFit. I went to one CrossFit class, and I'm like, "Oh, hell no." Where can I go? Because if you go to a regular gym, it's like some 20-year-old, or if you're lucky, just doing those same routines, like, "Okay, do 50 Ds, do this, and you're like, "Ah." So I fully, finding the right coach or the right, trainer is really important that will say, you know, "Don't push through the pain. Let's figure out
Yeah.
how we can, you know, work around that," and so that's where
'Cause
I'm at, so I totally get it.
I wanna hook into you said to protect my body, and I beg you to differ.
Mm,
I do not like that. I wanna protect my body. I wanna protect my knee. I wanna protect my everything. I'm looking at it from a point of I wanna support my knee. I wanna support my back. Instead of saying, because when we're thinking of support, we're thinking of something that's strong, that's lasting,
right.
instead of when I think I wanna protect, I shrivel in myself. I
Interesting,
feel
yeah.
like I need to protect my heart. I can't do things because I need to protect. But if I look at it from a point of view of support in my mind, and I tell all my clients when they go, I need to protect my elbow. I'm like, no, we're not. Um, we're supporting what we need, and that support goes a long way. And you're absolutely right with the gym. The gyms have the job of getting clients in
Yeah,
one way or another. You have these, and I used to do that way back when I started. After I learned how to teach dancer size classes, I became a personal trainer. And to get more experience, you get those clients in and you try to, you bring them through a workout generic, whatever thing that
yep,
is, and you do a body evaluation, which really means nothing to the individual, but it's the thing. And then you hope they sign up with you. But you
yeah,
don't have that experience to work with that person, which is if you get a healthy young body, it's great. But if you get somebody middle aged or even older,
yeah.
you're in for trouble.
Yeah, if you try and push them through that same generic, like you said, that one size fits all workout. And thank you
Mhm.
for making the distinction between support and protect, because what I really did mean was support, because now
Mm.
I felt like I was in a position to bring strength back to my muscles and rebuild
Yes.
and all of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so, when I go back in my own fitness history, I'm nutcase. Well, I think we're pretty close in nutcasing each other. When I look back, I taught these classes, I had 2 kids, got my career in fitness industry, became a personal trainer. And then my friend Rhonda, and Rhonda, you're our age, so you may listen to this episode. You were responsible that I became a bodybuilder because Rhonda said, Heike, we're
What?
personal trainers. Let's do this. Let's get books and let's learn how to make people really big and bulky. Back then, I did not know that women don't want to be big and bulky. Like,
Right?
they want muscles. I'm sure they do. And so we both became bodybuilders. We learned
Wow.
all the things about bodybuilding. And
That's
the one
intense.
where you stand on stage
Yeah.
and you hold your poses. So not
Yes.
there's a difference between the fitness competitors, which are also super fit, but you see them on stage with high heels and also small bikinis because you want to show off your muscles. But I was like barefoot, get mass. This is as
Wow.
massively as I could, and I never got that massive. My body type is just not like that. But then, I was in this and this was great. And I body competed for 3 years and I was on
Yeah.
stage and I doing all the things I did. And then I was like, I'm tired of constantly dieting, tired of constantly. My life was all about lifting, all about getting bigger, getting more muscle. There was no room for anything else. My social life was also non-existent because I only ate certain meals because I didn't want to gain any body fat or
Yeah.
extra water or belly fat or any of that stuff. So it was extremely resistant not resistant, it was extremely restricting
Yeah.
to what my life had been before. And then I decided that I'm going to try ultra marathon running. And I was
Alrighty
like,
then.
good, let's go to completely different side of my life. So, well, you got big and bulky. Now you want to long, lean muscles and run your heart out, which I did for, I think, 15 years, maybe. And I became an
Wow.
ultra marathon runner, which is my longest race with a 50 miler. It's called the JFK 50 miler here in Washington, in the Washington, D.C. area.
Oh my God.
And I fell into this, and that made me I became a running coach because every time I learned something, I took it with me. And I talk about this also in my book, Pursue Your Spark, that curiosity always drove what I did. I was interested in how big can I get? How fast can I get? How long can I run? What can I teach my group that I was coaching at that point here in Montgomery County, the Montgomery County Roadrunners Club? Big shout out to everybody.
Woohoo.
Um, is I coached my pace group and showed them how to stretch, talked about, strengthening for runners and these kind of things. And until my knee didn't like this anymore. It's like too much running, too much mileage, too much pounding. And I
Yeah.
said, great. So I took a little bit of time off, and then my husband started doing triathlons. And I said, oh, I would never do that. I cannot swim. I kid you not, Sue. I grew up swimming breaststroke. That's how I
Uh-huh.
was raised in Germany. So when I went to a race with my husband and placed for the national championships in Milwaukee, after I biked and I ran, my husband said, if you want to compete there, it's a triathlon, you need to learn how to swim. So Heike and curiosity, sure, I'm going to learn how to swim. Let's do that. So I learned to swim. And so once I said I'm learning to swim, I decided, I'm not just going to do, okay, and that's not meant in a demeaning way, but I call it little piddly races. I'm going all out. I want to be an Ironwoman.
Oh my God. Wow.
It's
Yeah.
which also involved running, but it was offset by swimming and biking, so it wasn't quite that
Yeah.
bad.
Easy.
Jeez. So I'm telling you, we're not that far. We could be a sister from a different mom here.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I think the most extreme thing I did was the AIDS ride. But,
It's
then
right.
I did do cycling trips and, and all of those things. So I was mostly focused on cycling. I've never been a runner. It was a little too painful for me. I tried
Yeah.
it a little bit. I'm good at sprinting. I'm not good at
Mm.
long, and I always say I'm kind of like running to me feels like a Clydesdale. And I'm like, that's an insult to the Clydesdales because they're actually really grateful.
Beautiful horses.
I see people running and I'm like, God, it doesn't look painful at all. You're just like a gazelle. I'm not a gazelle. I'm like a hippopotamus. So
Eh,
anyway,
but yeah,
but
so
yes,
thinking
I'm
of that,
extreme in other things. So when I get into something, I'm like all in. And so I understand that. It's like, oh, I took a flying lesson. Oh, okay. Well, now I'm going to get my pilot's license. Well, then I have to buy a plane, things like that. So it's
don't
same thing, just not running and biking and swimming, all the things. So
and so when I think, when the listeners are here and thinking, "Oh my God, look at those two badass women," you are a badass as well, listener. You're just
yeah,
a badass in your own rights.
yes,
You
absolutely.
could be a badass in the kitchen. You could be a badass at knitting. I'm like, there's so many badass versions of us out there. It doesn't always have to be an athletic feat,
No.
right?
And why, having said that, why do you think that when, and you were talking about the, 40 to 80
Mm.
range and it's funny because I was just having a conversation with like at certain junctions in there, like when you hit, like all of a sudden after I was like 63 or something, I started noticing, oh, my skin is getting crepey. Ew. You know what I mean? Where it's like there's certain things that happen where you say, like, okay, at 50, I started noticing this thing happening. And that's when, we're talking about the strategies
Mm.
that used to work, stop working. And then we don't know how to, as you say, rebuild the momentum. So let's talk about that. Like, why does that happen? Regardless of wherever we are in our badassery.
I think if we use our fitness desires and your
Mhm.
biking as a background, and please, you can replace it for anything, whatever is your passion for photography or whatever it is we've gone through a period of life where the things we did really worked well. And we kept relying on that. And in my mind, we're being told by the fitness industry they still work because there's a few of us that our ages that don't have that creepy skin, that don't have the cellulite, despite doing I don't know how many squats and lunges for the rest of my life. And it just is because we're going through our hormone changes, and the changes is normal. But the fitness industry convinces us that it should be different. We should buy this cream to tighten up our butt or our thighs, or we should do certain exercises. And I saw recently something that claimed Tai Chi would do that. And I'm like, right. It's not going to tighten, will make you more flexible, more aware, and more balanced, but it's definitely not going to tighten up your skin and help you lose weight. Like, oh my God. But we're bombarded by these misinformations.
Yes.
And that we still are taught harder is better.
No pain, no gain, right?
It still prevails in different verbiage now, but it is still, if you're not working hard enough and if you're not in pain and so sore that you can't move the next day, it wasn't good enough.
Right.
And I find this when clients come that have been exposed to the fitness workouts, whether it's a gym or they do their own whatever workout with dumbbells, and they do Pilates, and they go, Heike, I wasn't even sore the next day. I'm like, great. And they're like, but isn't sore what I should feel afterwards? This is a measure of I did a good job. No, it's
Yeah.
not. It's probably a measure we found a weak muscle that you haven't used in a while, or you finally discovered how to engage that muscle, or number three, you did too much of it. And so when we go back, we know better because we've seen that things stopped working. And instead of saying, okay, let me just tweak this a little bit. Let me say instead of I do a HIIT workout, I just do a regular strength training workout. Yeah. I mean, I can Google it online. I can go to ChatGPT and say, my age is this, I did it, and you get a workout. And
Yeah.
if you have, which many of us have, a little bit of a fitness background, you can use this and put it together and put it into place, or hire yourself a coach that shows you how to do this and get better guidance. But don't fall into the trap of what used to work now should be working. It's not. Your body is responding differently after the hormone changes, and also our metabolism slows down whether we like it or not. That's why we have the slack skin. That's why our muscles are not getting as big as they have been. And we work twice as hard to build up muscle. And that already starts at the age of 35 when sarcopenia starts. So lots of protein eating is important to help build muscles. I mean, we keep saying lean muscle, but muscle and strength as we go through what we're trying to rebuild in our lives. And when you think also, Sue, I think a lot of times, that's why I said every 10 years I'm in the tweaking game. I'm like, okay, we need to tweak something. This is not working. I'm bored of this, or I don't want to do this anymore. What can I do different? Is think about what brings you joy. What is the thing that really lights you up and not what somebody says you should do?
Snuggling with my pups and
Right?
hugging my horse. That lights me up. Do
That's
more of that.
exercise. This is you've got to stretch and got to reach around and got to
Yeah.
put, energy into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that everybody has to go to the gym, but I have to say everybody needs to do strength training and functional movement, like getting in and out of the chair, getting on and off of the floor, and get away from that you have to do the squat challenge. I can do 50 squats in a row. Great. But can you actually get on the floor, get back up, stand back up? Is that something that you can do? And as we get older, we get stiffer. So we need more mobility that we can move around. Not so much flexibility, but mobility in everyday activities. And As our metabolism slows down, our skin gets slacker, we will get a little heavier for most of us.
Great, thanks for that. I'm
You're
just
welcome.
kidding. Yeah.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Uh, but yes, the slowing down,
Mm,
the all of that thing, like you said, it's going to happen no matter what, and how do we work with that?
yep.
How do we continue to work with that instead of saying, "Oh, I can't do that anymore, so I'm not gonna do that." And I know from myself, from the inability to be as active, whether it was an injury or whatever, like I
Mm,
said, I it was frustrating because I could feel like I don't have the strength that I had. I don't have the trust I was still very mobile. It's not like I was, bedridden or anything, but still, you're like, you have to continue to do that. And I'm glad you brought up the functional training and the
training.
functional patterning or whatever, because that's really important because it's like you said, it's not about getting bulky. It's not about all of those things. It's about day to day living,
A and you
carrying
go
your groceries and putting them away when you get home and all of those things.
I was thinking about you the couple of days ago because I was going out on my bike
Ah, uh-huh.
and knew that we had this interview, and you ride horses. I need to get my leg over my bike to get on my bike. You need to get your legs up over the horse to get on the horse.
Yes,
That is
exactly.
functional.
Mhm.
No
Yeah.
squat or lunge is teaching you that.
No, exactly. It's opening up the hips, it's doing all this stuff and, yeah, and I use a mounting block. My horse is
Mhm.
16 hands, which is very tall, and the other thing is, even if I could get on from the ground, I would not want to because it's rough on the horses. Because
Mm,
where do you grab? You grab, like, the horn or the thing, and that's where um that those like, their withers are, and basically, those are vertebrae with very high, um, I don't know what you ever call it, spinous processes, right? They're
mhm,
very
mhm.
high, and so when you rank on those, the horse is like, "Oh my god." So, I advise everybody to use a mounting block, even if you can hop up gingerly. So, that's my safety moment for that. But, yeah, I mean, and when you're riding your bike, you need to be able to balance, so you need some core strength. Same thing on horses.
Mhm.
You gotta be able to move with the horse. If the horse does something quickly, if you don't have that mobility, you're gonna get launched, you know?
Yeah.
Same thing with
And also
cycling, you gotta climb hills, right? You're gonna
and it's
keep
it's very similar because the equestrians I have trained in Pilates, they had said the same thing. There's like, once I had better control over my core, my
Mhm.
horse was listening better.
Right, because they listen through your body connection and
Mhm.
how you're if you are out of balance, then the horse has to I used to do equine body work, and if the rider is out of balance, the horse will compensate as long as they have to, as long as they can, and then they're gonna start to break down. They're gonna start to get adhesions, and they're gonna start to be out of alignment because they're compensating for your imbalance. So you're
Yeah.
absolutely right about that.
Yeah, and that's something that we keep forgetting as we get older, that this is an important part of life. And it doesn't mean you're doing a mini, like 100-year-old workout. That's not what I'm saying. You still work out, but you choose to what extent and how much. And a lot of the women in my course, the Pursue Your Spark Blueprint, they are grateful that we only do 20-minute workouts.
Mm.
I said, "You
Mhm.
can supplement with any cardio of your choice, you can double up," but everybody says, "Oh my god, the 20 minutes. I know I can fit them in my day. I'm not, killing myself, and I don't have to do hour-long workouts," which many of us have done in order to see the results. I remember women at the gym I used to work, they were for hours on the treadmill running just in order to lose weight, to get leaner, to whatever else they were doing, but it was mostly about the physical appearance.
Right.
And we all wanna look good, but it
Yeah.
depends on what's your model? What's your role model? Who do you see on Instagram or TikTok you follow and you go, "Oh, I wanna be like that." It's never happening because you're a different body type. Your metabolism is different. Your background of what you used to do, if you were a total couch potato until the age of 60 and now start, you have a completely different starting point than an athlete in their 20s
Right.
who already has that ingrained in their body. But it's not hopeless, and it doesn't have to be complicated, which I think many women also say, "Well, what do I do now?" Look back, what you know, and I think, if that hit training didn't work, you learned how to do good form, hopefully. So all the strength exercises you can take forward and just put it at the gym or in your house or do body weight training wherever you are. And that works too. It just looks a little bit different. And the expectations have to measure that as well. I mean, I will not look like in my mid 30s when I was bodybuilding, ever, never. But that was, like I said earlier, it was my life, and I don't want my life to look like this. I have other interests and other things that I wanna do, but I wanna still look good. I wanna be strong, and I
Mhm,
and you when before we started talking, we're talking about gut health and,
mhm.
belly fat a little bit, and a lot of us, especially during or after menopause, developing gut issues, digestive issues, inflammation, and we need to change our diet around. And I have microscopic colitis for probably now 6 years, out of the blue, just happened, no warning. And it's one of the mildest forms of stomach inflammation, but it still affects my life. If I eat certain foods, I either have diarrhea, I have massive bloating, and I've started intermittent fasting, which has helped reduce the bloating. And it's so intermittent fasting is not for everybody. So I want you guys to listen to this, but it's worth to give a try if you feel like you're stuck on the scale or you're stuck with you're not feeling well in your body with a lot of bloating, and figure out if that might be something that works for you in conjunction with your workouts. And then look at the foods that are inflammatory that you may have to change around. And I'm not even talking celiacs, just talking simple, like I can't eat brie anymore. If I eat any soft cheeses, I'm in trouble.
Mm, yeah.
And that's something also our digestive system slows down. So we need to pay attention to what kinds of food we eat. Apple is great, but it's also hard to digest if you eat the skin. Are you, is that part of it?
Hmm.
So it's a bigger picture of the health that we are trying to create for ourselves, but we have to pay attention and not ignore the warning signs.
Yeah, I kinda just eat whatever I want and then feel like crap, and so and it's awful. I'm like, "Why am I feel so bloated? Why is my bowel movements all over the place?" And then I'm like, "Well, because you just eat what you wanna eat, and you don't" So it's kinda like you have to do, like you said, the intermittent fasting or something that's gonna give you some sort of reset and baseline, and then introduce things slowly, and if it lights you up, then you're like, "Okay, scratch that one off the list," and start figuring out what you can eat and what you
Mhm.
should and shouldn't eat
Yeah.
to maintain some sort. Because I've struggled with my weight, not ever bad, 20 pounds here and there and all that kinda stuff, and, um, I have gone through like, oh, my stomach was like, fairly recently, my stomach was flatter, not as not as much. I'm like, "What was I doing?" Like, I had to
Mhm.
stop and think, "What was I doing? What was I eating? How did that happen?" Because now I have to, figure that out all over again, so I don't know what I did, but
But
I
it's
need to
when
figure
you're
it out.
in pain, that's
Yeah,
which is when when my stomach starts bloating,
it's
I'm in
gross.
so much pain.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to literally lie down because it's so, so bad. And
Mm,
it takes hours for it to calm down. And, I started for my particular problem, I started acupuncture, and that has helped a
mhm.
lot because I get bloating not only from the wrong foods I eat or I've developed, leaky gut syndrome, so I'm also allergic to foods I was never allergic to before, so I need to pay attention to that as well. And the other thing too is stress. stress is huge on my stomach. And this explains too, when we're stressed out, our body produces produces more cortisol, which then is creating that unhealthy gut, that unhappy gut, that weight gain and that bloating that we're experiencing. So stress is a big one as well on top of that.
Yeah.
And in addition to what we just talked about a little minute ago, is intense exercise is a stressor for the body. So
Mm.
by really hitting it hard, you're increasing that cortisol and you're increasing that stress on the body. So when we're thinking about what should I do for exercise, that may some of the you guys listening was saying, "Oh, I did this really hard run, but I wasn't feeling good afterwards. I used to feel good, but not anymore." And this could be part of because your cortisol level is now raised because of your exercise.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because I had a massage this morning and
Mm.
he's a structural integration, like Rolfing,
Mhm.
and he's gotten me through a lot of stuff, which is amazing. But we were talking about working out and I was telling him about the gym that I'm going to now and what a good fit it is. And we talked about CrossFit and he's like, that actually, because those workouts are so hard, it puts your body in that fight or flight. It's that like military level training of and it like you just said, it stresses the body out. It puts the body in a stress position. So
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that makes" and then here we are talking about the same thing. I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
bing."
And I want also the listeners to think about this. We're not saying CrossFit is bad. We're not
Right.
saying that these things are bad. If it's your jam, knock yourself out.
Yeah,
But if you don't get the results that you used to get and you feel more beaten up afterwards than better, you got to do something.
right. Yeah, just like foods. If you eat something and you immediately feel bloated and disgusting, then maybe you don't wanna eat that anymore.
Yep. And it's okay to have it occasionally because you
Yeah,
said I eat what I want. And when I do this, I always pay the price.
yeah,
And
I do.
sometimes I'm willing to pay the price and I'm going like, I had this all fat ice cream from the store and I know I'm going to pay for this, but I
But I
really
don't
want it.
care. Yeah,
It's
there's a l
life,
yes, it
right?
is, and you can't totally like you said with the bodybuilding thing, that was so restrictive, and I know I have some friends that have gone through that bodybuilding thing, and it is ridiculously restrictive, and you
Yeah.
can't live like that. I mean, that's just not normal life. It's just not.
Nope. Nope. And then the flip side too, with the long distance running, I back then was too, I can eat what I want. I didn't have colitis then.
Mm,
Because I'll be running 20 miles tomorrow.
mhm.
It doesn't
Yeah,
matter. What a
exactly.
wrong thinking, because I mean, as a trail runner, you get the most delicious, unhealthy food on trail races you can imagine. It's chips and M&Ms and Coca-Cola with all the sugar and all the things that you're like, "No, no, no. No, no, no."
Yeah.
But back then, my body was forgiving.
Yeah.
Now, no, no, no.
Same thing when I was training for the California AIDS ride. I mean, I could
Mhm.
eat anything. "Oh, we're doing an 80-mile bike ride tomorrow. Great, bring it," And then when we were on the ride, I'm like, "Give me some more Fruit Loops," and, it's just but it was fuel, and
Yep,
at that time, I was in my mid-30s, so it was very, very different.
yep, yep.
It's
And
so
I think
funny.
that's what you guys need to think about is we're talking about the changes that have we've gone through and the lessons we've learned. And so have you guys learned lessons about yourself. Go back and revisit those lessons. What happened when you did this? How old were you then? What stresses you out right now? I think right now everything stresses us out, but so I do not watch the news, so I'm banned from the news because it's unhealthy for me.
Yeah,
Uh,
there
I
you go. Good
I
idea.
stay informed, but I just had to go. So I'm surrounding myself with things that I love doing. I started, I don't know if I told you that I started learning Portuguese.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So I found myself a teacher on TikTok of all
Huh?
places, and we're doing weekly one-on-one lessons where I learn
Wow.
Portuguese. So
I heard that that's a very difficult because a friend of mine was, wanting to leave the country for various reasons, and Portugal was one of the places that she was looking at, and she's like, "The language is too difficult." Like, "Okay."
oh my God, I used to speak pretty fluent Spanish, so that
Yeah.
helps a little bit. but now I
Which
need
is
to
very different, right?
repronounce all the words.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's a great challenge because I said, we're talking about fitness and nutrition. It's like, what does your mind do in all of this? Yes, we're planning strategies, but where do you keep yourself going forward with new challenges and new curiosity in your life? You just became a coach again. And
Different.
in yeah, a
Adding to
different.
my coaching, toolbox. Yes, absolutely.
And that was all about I had to learn new things. I had to like dive into new things, learn new crafts. And that is so, so important as well.
Yeah. I love learning new things. I think and this is something that, I know a lot of women struggle with it where when they start to hit that midlife thing and they start to question, right?
Mm.
Is this really what should I be doing? And I think starting over or not starting over, but even trying something new that you don't have to like, "Oh, I'm gonna go do this whole thing now, and I'm gonna leave everything else behind," right? You talk about starting over rather than just kind of tweaking things, and I think it scares people to learn new things sometimes because you know what? You have to be a beginner again, and it's hard.
Do
People
you
don't like to
think?
be the beginner. They don't like to look silly or stupid or not look like they know what they're doing. Do you
Do
have
you?
that?
I agree, but I also, of course, I have my own thoughts.
And
And I think that they are scared to
Mhm.
disappoint themselves,
Yeah.
but most importantly, to disappoint others. What would you say? It's like, oh, I've started to learn Portuguese. And then after a week, I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling, this is too hard. I'm not going to do this. So somebody would say, oh, look at you. So they're not disappointed because you're not keeping going. So you're disappointing them and yourself with that audacious goal that you had of learning a new language or whatever it is. And that's when I feel that the Spark framework comes in really handy from my book. And
Tell me a little bit about that if you don't
the
mind.
the framework is super simple and it's repeatable, and it means you don't start over, but you can always go back to the step before, revisit and then revamp and then, go from there. So the Spark framework stands for scan, plan, take action, overcome roadblocks, and then it's officially supposed to say keep momentum. I say kick ass.
There you go.
Um that's my editor was like, "Oh, we should say keep momentum." I was I don't know if we keep it's kick ass, man. That's what we're doing. Go woof.
Yeah.
And so when you let's use the example with your biking. I think that's a perfect example. Somebody said, "Let's do this." So you scan and you're going like, "Ah, okay. It sounds like a really good idea. Ah, what do I need?" So you scan, I need a bike, I need shoes, I need a helmet, I need gloves, I need an outfit. All right, got all the list together. Then you plan that you actually get these things. So you have the list and then you narrow it down to the must haves, and this is your planning. Then you take action on your first ride. So everybody goes and says, okay, we're meeting at 5 a.m. for a 30-mile ride. And you go out and you get so sore, the saddle rash, and you're like, oh, this is just no, no. This is your roadblock because suddenly this amazing ride turned into saddle rash,
Uh,
and you're like, maybe I'm not cut out for this. So you go back to your planning, or even no, let's keep it with the planning phase. What kind of pants did I buy? Are these the right pants? Maybe I need some chamois to put on my private parts.
exactly.
Maybe that will help. So then you go, okay, I'm going to go for the next ride. And then this time you don't have a roadblock. You're like, this worked great. And that's when you keep momentum or you kick ass and you keep going. But at any point in it works for so beautifully for any situation in life that you can start, or you could say, you know what, bike riding is just not for me.
Yeah.
But what I always wanted to do was fly a plane. And then you start the scanning and the planning, right? And so that could be a different way that you discovered that this is not for you and there's nothing wrong with that. But then you decided, okay, but this is another interest I had. And I always find when people go back to when they were younger, kids growing up, teenagers, we all had a dream of doing something. My dream was always to come to the United States and live here and marry a
Mhm.
cowboy.
I love
Until
it.
I found out what a cowboy is. It's basically a farmer, and you have lots of cows, and you have to do a lot of herding and a lot of work. And I was like, no, 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 no. So I ended up marrying an attorney.
Well, there you go.
But, it's like there's is something that you may wanna do or, one of the things I don't know if we shared this I shared this with you. I'm learning to play the saxophone.
And speak Portuguese. Wow.
Yep.
Both of those
Y
things are not easy things.
I have never played an instrument. I don't even know how to read music, and
Uh-huh.
my husband 2 years ago gave me a gift, and I'm like, "This has nothing to do with biking or fitness. This is kinda weird," and I open it, I'm looking at the saxophone, I'm going, "What am I gonna do with this?"
He gave you
And
a
he said
saxophone? That's hysterical.
He said, "You told me if you ever were to learn an instrument, it would be the saxophone."
Here you go.
And he says, "Here's your saxophone. There's no pressure. If you never play it, we eventually sell it, but you don't have to sell it right now. If you feel the urge to play, I have lessons from YouTube. You can start learning just by using the fingers and the
Yeah.
buttons and whatever they teach." And so the first year I played a little bit and then I wrote my book, but um this year, I've started picking it up more often. I looked at more videos, and I'm actually having joy putting the pieces together, and then positioning it, and then finding my fingers. And my goal till the end of the year is to play Pink Panther in a way that actually you can listen to it. That's
Without
more like what it
screeching, yeah.
sounds.
I've played reed instruments before, it's not
Oh,
easy.
but I said, why not?
Yeah,
And what I love is when my husband said, if you never do anything with it, it's sitting right there for you. If you want to realize your dream, it is there for you.
I love that. I love that he bought you a saxophone, and he probably has noise-canceling earphones too.
I
Uh,
played I played Sunday and I said, "I'm so sorry, it was really bad." And he says, "I just block it out."
put those headphones in, right? Yeah, exactly. That's so funny. And I love that what you said about disappointing other people. We're so afraid of what
Mm,
other people are going to think. And I have tried a million things in my life because I'm just like, I'm interested in something, so I'm going to give it a shot, right? Like with the flying thing or with the, boxing thing or whatever it is. At least I did it. I don't have to do it forever. It doesn't matter. Just do it. If you don't
mm.
like it, do something else. Like you said, there's no crime in that. You but I think we feel like we have to be good at it. We have to be the master of whatever. It's like, I don't want to do this to the mastery level. I had fun. I learned a bunch of stuff and I enjoyed it. And now I'm going to do something different. And it's okay. You got to give yourself permission to do that.
And giving ourselves permission, so many women struggle with from my experience. Because if I start something, I need to commit to it full on.
Yeah.
I can't fail. It has to be perfect. And then the perfectionism comes out. And then with what we just talked about, the people pleasing. I told my husband I'm gonna play it and now I'm not playing it. Oh my God, I have to please this other person and I have to be perfect at what I do. And it's not. And there is no shame in this. None whatsoever.
Absolutely not. You're right. I mean, there isn't. And hopefully, the people that are listening are going to say, I'm going to go start something new. Uh, I'm going to go try something that I haven't tried in a while and find something that will ignite my spark, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's I think it's giving ourselves permission to not be afraid to try something new. And don't be ashamed if things just don't pin out or you tried something and like, you know, if I play or when I by the end of the year when I play my Pink Panther and I'm done with it, then I'm just done.
Yeah.
It's fine.
You may love it. You may want to join a jazz band. You never know, right?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Sue, you're gonna love this. And you and I would be like the perfect candidates for this. Have you seen on Instagram the women that are now becoming EDM DJs, music DJs?
I was a DJ for 20 years, so yeah.
Ye
But
I did not know that, see?
yeah.
So I see these ladies mixing and like, I love this electronic music. I was like, this is what I'm going to do next.
There you
I
go.
take a course to become a DJ. I don't know when this is going to be, but I was like, oh, this is my kind of music. I want to jam out to all those
I love
tunes and
it. Yeah.
mix all that. So
It's so funny too, because I mean, I was a DJ when we used vinyl. We didn't do this, electronic nonsense. And I'm like, it's not DJing unless you're actually touching the records and all of this stuff. So,
did you scratch too?
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And I had, and I would do stuff at clubs, and I had crates and crates of, vinyl 12-inch, all these things. And I remember when I sold them, it was heartbreaking. I'm like, a couple of guys come, and look at I said, do not pick through them like it's a turkey 3 days after Thanksgiving. You either take them all or you don't take any, because I can't do that. It was just like I was so connected to all those records. It's so funny.
I
love
didn't
it though.
know
Yeah,
that.
let's do some
Unts,
EDM. Yeah, exactly. You're killing me. All right. Well, we just keep going here for forever. But as we're wrapping up here, this has been such a fun conversation. What would you like to leave my listeners with today? We've touched on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I would say stop dimming your light, which is definitely something I like to say. Stop, pursue your spark, ignite your spark, pursue your spark. Stop dimming your light, because what you need is already within you.
That is so important. And we
Yeah.
forget that,
Yeah.
especially as we get older. Our light kind of, it does start to dim, and we think we don't have any light left, because a lot of times we give it to other people too,
Yeah.
with the caregiving and stuff. All right, well, that's a whole nother show. Heike, thank you so much for being on the show. That was such a fun conversation, and I really enjoyed it. I'll probably have to have you back again once you have your saxophone recital and have moved on to DJing. And I love it. So thank you so much for being on the show. And to everyone listening, I hope that you will pursue your spark. And I want you to reach out to Heike. What's the best way for people to reach out to you? I'm going to have all your links in the show notes, but what's the best way for people to connect with you?
By my name, Heike Yates, HeikeYates. You can find about my brand, Pursue Your Spark. You can find the book as well, and all the other free trainings that I have and courses that you might be interested in that fit really well into our age group and our needs, I think.
Perfect. And when I'm out on the East Coast again, I will look you up, because you're in Maryland. I have some friends that live in Chevy Chase, so
Close by, like 10 minutes from here.
oh my God, perfect. I'll
Yep.
have to come to the studio and do some Pilates.
It's like, that was cute. This is not exactly Pilates.
No, that's kind of like aerobic. That's jazzercise. I don't know. That was a weird move, I know, but I don't know what that was. Anyway. All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone listening. And if this episode has resonated with you, and you know someone else that might need to hear this, please share it with a friend. And that's a wrap for today of Midlife Strategies for Badass Women. And I am Sue Willoughby, your host, and I will be back next week with more Midlife Strategies for Badass Women. Woohoo!